Hey there, soccer freaks. This is ATL On Fire, the podcast where we talk all things Atlanta United Football Club. So sit back, buckle up, enjoy. So, fortunately, I was able to go to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium last Tuesday against the Philadelphia Union.
Yes.
It was so good to be back at a game. It was awesome. And
I was coaching the night before and I had a work thing the next day and I just couldn't make it happen. So I was sadly watching on TV and wishing I was Mikey Dobbs.
yeah, and it was pure joy the first half. The way that the team played was, for me, watching that first half, it was kind of all coming together. I was like, wow, okay, Dave was really right here. They were knocking it around as good as I've seen Atlanta United do, even in 2018 peak form under Tata. They were moving that ball around, and it was men against kids at many times in that game. And I just was
against a supporter shield winning, side that Philadelphia
team. And I mean, it really was just dominant, purposeful soccer. It wasn't just Frank de Boer moving the ball around. They were piercing in and getting the ball in dangerous situations, and we didn't get the end result that we wanted in that first half. And that's when I should have known, as a soccer player, whenever you have a dominant first half, watch any EPL game, anytime this happens, I don't know, that's when you go to Vegas and put down a real big bet against your own team or the team that's dominating, because sure enough,
whenever you're playing a good side and you dominate but fail to capitalize and turn that into goals, the opponent's coach, if there's anywhere good and the side is anywhere good, they're going to make some adjustment, right?
Yeah.
And when you make the adjustment,
But I don't even know that they made an adjustment, because in the second half, we came out and were again moving the ball with possession and purpose for the first, I don't know, was it 10 minutes before they scored on us? And really, I mean, the goal was just a mental breakdown on a set piece, which is a corner kick, where it was clear just there was a moment of lack of urgency of, I don't know who, I have to go back and look at the replay, but there's no way that ball should squeak through at, head or shoulder level, whatever it was, and get to the back post. That ball needs to have a head on it or a body on it. And it's simple as that. And, any team all day long, you watch that in Europe, that should never happen, where a ball that playable shouldn't be, have some part of the body on it from a defender. So from that point on, the game turned in many ways, from the heads going down for a second and letting, Philadelphia take advantage of the moment from the referee and little cheeky falls and just almost disturbing faking at some point. I've lost my voice for a week because I was not saying nice things to the referee. But it was our own undoing at the end of the day.
Right, here's a moment to pause and say, so, in our fancy schmancy seats, right, they now have unlimited food and drink. So how much money did Mercedes-Benz lose on Mikey Dobbs in that game?
Well, thankfully they did have a nice selection of Coronas and IPAs, and I stuck with the Corona, so it's relatively okay in the finances of things there. But had a great time. I mean, I think it definitely turned south when, who was it, the Martinez guy, who's the number 8 for Philly, was just, I mean, completely faking. I mean, all day long.
That's the end part, right? Let's talk about the moment after we
I'm getting heated. Sorry.
Right. One of the things that was interesting to me, and the first thing that I have seen that that is not good about what Heinze has shown. So the team completely lost their mind.
Yeah.
you would have thought that it was a second leg of an elimination game, or a single elimination, like a U.S. Open Cup match, a single elimination and you're out. Because so all of a sudden everybody was going forward trying to get the equalizer, right? Which is what happens to teams that don't have, you know, confidence, that don't think,
Yeah.
don't have the experience or whatever. But that I don't think is necessarily Heinze. There's so many new players, blah, 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 blah. But Heinze fed into it, right? That he substituted a forward on for one of the backs and went to three in the back immediately. Why? As you just talked about, we dominated the proceedings for 55 minutes or
Yeah.
whatever it was, 60 minutes. Why in the world? I mean, if I were Heinze at that moment, I would say, everybody relax. We've been dominating the match. Keep it up. We'll get the goals, right?
Yeah.
But he immediately made an offensive for defensive sub and just fed right into the frenzy and
He
became.
was pumped up, man. He was in the Mercedes Benz for the first time. He had fans. Give the guy a break, man.
It seems like a Mikey Dobbs style. You would have loved that, right? Like,
I
let's
did, man. I was
go.
loving everything about that game up until the second goal, really, which if you go back and look, if I recall, the second goal was literally a miscommunication between the two players. You got it, I got it. No, nobody's got it. And then it went through
But there
to
was nobody back,
yeah,
right?
but we had it covered. I mean, one of those two players 100% could have gotten to that ball
Oh,
first,
sure, sure.
but
There's
they
so few
they they
players
weren't
back, so as soon as they made a mistake, it was just lights out.
correct. Yeah, lights out uh, once it was in
Yeah,
their
it was
possession
gone.
gone.
And the interesting thing is, you say, all right, well, this is maybe where Heinze hasn't had the experience, right? As a coach,
Yeah.
you know, um, when you got the team and you're like, look, this is what we're trying to do, and it's going so well, and then you concede a fluke goal, and then you're like, well, damn it, let's get it back, let's go, whatever. A veteran coach would say at that moment, we've been through the ringer, right? Everybody relax. I remember, it was a Liverpool Champions League final when they just got annihilated by AC Milan in the first half, and it was like 2 goals in like a heartbeat. And Benitez, who was the coach of Liverpool at the time, brought on a extra defensive midfielder and took off a forward after going down 2 goals. And I think this person next to me, we were watching it at the brew house at the time, was like, that is madness. How can you take off an attacker when you just conceded 2 goals? And I said, actually, I think it's brilliant technically, because they're getting a little overrun in midfield. And if they're going to have any chance of coming back, they've got to win it from there or whatever. And it totally worked. And they came back, in a historic fashion to win that Champions League final in a crazy comeback. But that's a veteran coach who didn't panic, when in a cup tie, in a two-legged, cup tie where you give up a goal. And there was no need for Atlanta to panic.
No, there
That,
wasn't. Yeah, and the third goal was just a complete realization of kind of the team losing their focus.
well, as soon as you give up the second goal for having panicked, and Heinze having fed into that by making what I think is clearly the wrong substitution at that moment, feeding into the whole psychosis of his team, then once you give up the second goal, then people really lose their mind and they're like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And then you saw that.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as a game that we've lost and me being happy, like I was odd. I was still buzzing in terms of the upside of what the potential is this season or even into next. If this is a reminiscent season to 2017 and we can go on to do great things next season by figuring some things out with these younger players, I'm cool with that. And if it works out where we even do better, fantastic. But
It kind of reminds you of the first game under Tata at Georgia Tech, where we came out, we were just expecting, hopefully a miracle, stay in a game. We're expansion side, first ever game. And we dominated the proceedings for the entire game. People forget that New York came back and beat us 2-1 in that
yeah,
game.
Yeah.
right? And it was a disaster, whatever. But you kind of felt this, good feeling about it. You're like, wow, we can
Yeah.
actually get it after people, and it's just a matter of time. And you kind of feel that way a little bit about the moves that they made with the front office, Boca Negra and Eels, and then also with the coaching. And I'll go back to a moment you said before. You were talking about Mulroney and the luck of his goal or whatever. And I think he represents what we did wrong as a front office last year. We got over cocky and we're like, look, we just need to have blazing athletes or whatever. And we got all of these players who were super fast and super strong and couldn't play at all, right? And they've corrected a lot of those mistakes, but I think Mulroney is maybe a remnant of those mistakes.
Yeah.